No, it's crazy though when festivals don't go the extra mile with the artist, because it helps the artist put on a better show.
You know what I mean? It's just like
be like pleasant anyways. Like,
Well,
it's just
and also I'll definitely say that there are a lot of artists that definitely want to work with me again, even if they're like I don't even care if we play the festival, like I just want to work with you, like,
Yeah.
you know. And I've noticed that a lot, and it's just because, you know, when you care that much and when, you know, you put that passion into it, like the artists are like, you know, they respect it and they appreciate it as much as, you know, you respect and you appreciate what they, you know, do for your festival and what they do for your job and everything. So it builds relationships. It definitely makes artists want to play festivals again. Because I mean, I've met artists who are like, oh man, I played this one festival and this guy was such a dick and blah blah blah, and I would never play another one of their festivals again.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, you're kind of screwed, because artists are going to talk.
Yeah.
Like, artists talk to other artists, and then it's like, oh my God, you're playing that festival? Like,
Yeah.
let me tell you my experience. Like,
Yeah.
you know what happened?
100%. That's
No.
like not.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's
it's-
like 100% what it is.
That
Too.
definitely
Yeah,
It's
it's,
like they
a
just-
lot of word of mouth.
Yeah, it's artists can't keep their mouth shut. We write songs.
Well, yeah, you guys gossip worse than everyone.
Yeah,
Like-
for sure. It's bad. Yeah, but then also that kind of gives the incentive to do your job properly as well. You know.
And that's the biggest thing. And they see that, and they see that, you know, whether or not like you're trying to run a professional festival or you're trying to actually like care about like what it is, because if an artist feels uncomfortable at your festival, their show's going to reflect that.
Yeah,
so you want them
exactly.
to be in the best mood that they could possibly be, just for the sole fact that, you know, it's going to make their show better.
Yeah.
Like, if they're treated like kings and they had no idea that was going to happen to them, like, they're going to be like in the most hype mood ever, and
For
like
sure.
they're gonna
Yeah.
be like, oh yeah, we're gonna tear this place down. You know, it definitely, like, and you can see that, like,
Yeah, big time.
So
big time.
that's why they're so nice, because they want us to play better.
Well,
Well,
then
duh.
it gives the fans the experience they want to, and then they end up being happier. You know,
Exactly.
so it's a full
a
symbiotic thing.
revolving door kind
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Have there been any experiences with artists where you're like, fuck that person, I never want to deal with them again?
Of course there are.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Not gonna name any names.
Sure.
of a
I
band.
just feel like the writer alone at like a band that's kind of addicted venue owners at a festival has got to be a mile longer.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, we really don't get like a lot of like rider. I mean,
Yeah.
like, because like a lot of that goes through like your head AR person and
Okay.
everything, and they get like approved things, and then that gets passed down to you in what we call the Bible, and it's like every single band. Oh yeah, we get handed like these binders, and they're called our Bibles, and it has every single band. It has their catering, dietary restrictions. It has their stage plot. It has when they're arriving with how many cars.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like all laid out. But there was particularly one band that I worked with back Aura 2013, and I was the stage manager, and we're waiting for the hospitality person to get there, and they were this little known band. They like had won some internet contest or battle of the bands thing and stuff.
Okay, it's not
and they
us.
were like
Okay,
younger kids. They were like younger kids
I think
too.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
And they just
actually.
come up to me, and like I'm sitting there like backstage and stuff, just like waiting, you know, for everybody to do their load in. They come up to me and they're like, excuse me, we have an interview here soon. Why isn't there coffee made for us?
Oh my
Nice.
God.
And I was like,
That's the way you get coffee made. It's
and I go, well, I'm your stage manager. And they're like, so? And I was like, okay, no, please. Why don't you guys go have a seat? I was like, let me go make your coffee for you. Like,
Oh my
please.
God.
And it's like almost like you want to go to like the sound guy and be like, fuck up their set.
Yeah,
you know, like,
right,
you know,
right.
like, just slightly like be like, hey, you know, like,
That's also why as an artist you can't be a dick either.
you can't be a dick to the
Yeah.
people that like are the ones that are like, you know, running the festival and stuff, because it's just like restaurant workers. You
Yeah,
know? Like,
exactly.
yeah, you don't.
we like you way better. We like each other way better than we like your band.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like,
Exactly. So are there any expectations that you might have going into like a bigger festival versus a smaller festival?
No, not really. A small festival should be treated the same way as a big festival. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's just like the same thing as like, you know, any job that you do. Like, you can't half-ass a job. Like, whether or not there's 40,000 people there, or there's, you know, 500 people there. Like, you know, you want to give the best experience that you possibly can to, you know, the people that are there to enjoy it. Now, like, as into expectations of how much BS that you have to deal with, I definitely expect that I'm going to deal with way more problems and or issues going into the larger festivals.
Yeah.
Than I do with the smaller festivals, because it's like more isolated incidents if it does happen at the smaller festivals, which is very like few and far between. But the bigger festivals, I mean, when you're working like Hula and there's like 45,000 people there, you know, it's hard. It gets very hard to manage that many people, you know, at once. Whereas, you know, if you had 2,500 people, you know, it's really, you know, not as hard, but it definitely is a little bit more contained, and you know, like people don't get as rowdy, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, like,
People definitely start to lose their sense of self-awareness when they're in a mass situation. So at 30,000 people, you're dealing with a bunch of people that are relying on a bunch of other people to set the tone for them. And then when you have like a smaller crowd, it's like everybody's still capable, even if they're fucked up, like they're still capable of taking care of themselves, and they're not relying on the rest of the festival to provide the situation for them.
Right, exactly. You know? Yeah, I would definitely say, like, I would agree with that 100% for sure. Like, when it comes to managing that amount of people, I mean, it takes a village to try and make something like that run, whereas comparatively to like a smaller festival, you might not need, you know, as much like, you know, security or, you know, regulators,
right,
you know, so to say. So that definitely that changes the whole expectation going into it, because you're just like, oh yeah, I know for a fact I'm gonna deal with some shit. Like whereas the smaller festivals, you're like, if I have to deal with some shit, you know, like.
You ever notice a level of disorganization on a smaller festival that might not happen at a bigger festival, just because typically a bigger festival probably has a little bit more
major leagues? Like, you can do it right off the bat.
I would say newer festivals.
Newer festivals.
I would say like newer festivals have a little bit of disorganization, and that just comes from experience. When it comes to that kind of aspect, you do. When you go to the larger festivals, you're like, oh, so why do they take a deposit for their volunteers? And you know, Toby and I have learned from doing the volunteer coordination at OBJ that you're going to get burned a lot, you know, by these volunteers. Either they're too messed up to come to their shift,
just dealing with hippies in general,
or they just don't show up in general and stuff. And you're giving these people free tickets basically to your event. And we never really understood why the larger festivals always took the deposit. And then we were like, oh, because we've lost a lot of money from giving out all these free tickets, and you know, sometimes not even having enough people to fill volunteer spots and everything.
Right.
So you know, you learn things as you grow as an event, and as you know, you see little things, and you learn little things and stuff here and there. But I wouldn't say like smaller festivals are any more disorganized than the larger festivals, because I've seen large festivals be insanely disorganized.
I'm sure, yeah.
You know, it all comes from experience, really and truthfully. Like, I mean, we as festival promoters, we talk about different things that we like about their festival and they like about our festival, and you know, you grow off each other.
Yeah.
You know, eventually, and you guys all take the good with the bad, and you know, you talk about all the, you know, the stuff that you've had to deal with, and they talk about all the stuff that they've had to deal with, and it's like, oh man, I remember the first time that I ever had to deal with that. This is what we did, and you know, you kind of adapt to that.
Was there any situations you can think of in like in the various roles that you've played at a festival of like damage control? So like, what would damage control be like as a stage manager versus like artist meet and greets or something, you know?
I've never really had to do too much damage control, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, there's been some bands that are like, oh, you know, I didn't like the way that this person acted, or I didn't like the way that this sound guy was and stuff. And as the person who's like the artist hospitality, and you're like, okay, you know, I'll make sure everything's okay, you know, pat him on the head, you know, send him off and everything. I mean, really and truthfully, that's what it is. And then you go talk to this person, and this sound guy's like, oh, this guy was such a dick, and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, like, and yeah, like you're basically the middleman between your production crew and the bands. But I've never really had to do too much damage control. I will definitely say that with the fact that we are bringing back music festivals, or trying to bring back music festivals with OBJ as well as with Fool's Engagement and Monster Mash, we've caught a lot of flack.
Yeah, because of COVID and all that.
Well, because of the COVID thing, and like a lot of the other countries, like, oh my God, look at Florida, and they're, you know, having everything open and blah, blah, blah. And like, we're trying to do it responsibly. Even when we did the women's empowerment tour at the venues that we did them at, we kept it to limited capacity. Everybody was supposed to, you know, everybody's wearing their masks the entire time. You know, and we're trying to do it in the safest way possible, and we're trying to do it in, you know, according to CDC guidelines. But there's still people that definitely have been lashing out, and definitely have been giving us a lot of flack in that regards. And the way we just deal with it is like, honestly, we haven't responded to any of it. We know what we're doing. There's temperature checks. There's people wearing masks, social distancing, limited capacity events.
all the cleaning and stuff that goes
yeah,
on.
you know,
The
all
festivals
that.
and stuff, yeah.
And, you know, personally, the people who have seen what Get Lost Entertainment has done and what Tom and I have done with, you know, the festivals and everything that we've done, they're the ones that are actually the ones that are, you know, kind of like saying stuff and, you know, being like, have you gone to one of their events? Like, have you seen what they did? Like, or are you just like basing this on, you know, a prejudice? And we just keep out of it. We know what we do. We know that we're doing it safely, and there's nothing more that we can say.